Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming in to our March M365 Adoption User Group. My name is Kirsty McGrath. For those that haven't actually met me before, the presentation is actually available online for you. So anything that we're going through today, you can actually go on and get. The recording will be live on YouTube as well. So that'll all go live for you at the end of the session. Although it took me a while to get the last month's up, it might have only gone on yesterday. Normally it's done the day after, but it's been a pretty full-on month. There's plenty of information that's actually available. I'd just like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting from today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders who's joined us. And of course my clicker doesn't want to work today. So, or is it PowerPoint that's not working? Okay. So the session is actually recorded. So if you don't wish to be part of the recording, then I would ask that you please drop off. Those in the room, you don't have to worry too much because the camera's not on you. So if you're not having a bad day, you probably wouldn't have done your hair to be here. Okay. For those that are online, can you please have your camera on camera, or you can have it on, that's okay, because the room's not seeing, but your microphone is currently muted. And what I will do is, if you have any questions along the way, I will take off the muting after we've had our speaker do the run through. And if you've got some questions, please feel free to raise your hand. So otherwise you will be on mute throughout the session. At any point you can chat with us, you can ask questions in chat. Those in the room, you can put them in chat, or you can just raise your hand and I'll see you. So I'll try and make sure that we can also hear. Now, can everyone hear me fairly clearly online? Because if you can't, I will put on the microphone. Everyone's giving me a thumbs up. Okay, so it's fairly clear. Okay, cross fingers. And, you know, both myself and Kimberly, we've got a voice on us. So we usually, you know, can project fairly well. When we get to Q&A time, please feel free to raise your hand. At any point, you can turn on closed captions online to be able to support you. You know, as I always say, put your sneakers on. You're going to be going fairly fast. And if English is not your first language, then I would highly recommend you turn your captions on. Code of conduct, I ask that we all be kind and friendly, and if you're in chat, then please use appropriate gifs and comments. And we all come at this technology from different perspectives as well. So sometimes we can get into, you know, an interesting exchange around thoughts around what we should potentially do. I just ask that we be kind and considerate to those that are in the room. What have I been up to? I always go through what have I been up to over the last month. I was very kindly, we got Elizabeth in the room here. Elizabeth actually organised for us to go into the new Innovation Centre at Microsoft at Denison Street there. The fabulous session in regards to agents and AI. Probably 95% of it went completely over my head because it went very technical very fast. But it's amazing that there's pretty much nearly, if there's a problem, then they are actually around to solve it for clients. If it's something that's actually quite unique and they think that it will apply on a global scale, they've got a team there that will work with an organisation, large enterprises. If you've got anyone that you know got a real struggle around something around AI, they come in and they run the whole project and it's literally can solve just about anything. It was pretty clever. We got to see, you know, cardiologists, you know, coming in and dealing with Bob, the fake body, scanning hearts and all of the conditions. And so cardiologists could actually see in full 3D rendering and with HoloLens and the whole lot. It was really impressive. So I really loved it. It was great to see it and see all the MVPs in the community. Sharon, who presented last week on the panel, it was her birthday. So congratulations, happy birthday. And I created a little cake and cupcake and took it to her for the change. She does a change group that brings change managers together. So if you are a change manager, then please feel free to join up under, you know, Sharon Connolly's group, and she comes together probably once a quarter. On top of that, I've been running promptathons for Microsoft, helping out around AIs and you know, helping both small businesses right through to enterprise and gov. What does it mean to do good prompting? It's a bit of a kind of a competition fun. They build out prompts and been working. The last one was with also Daniel Anderson. So Dan Anderson, so was on that one. From a personal perspective, I have just put in my very first big international cake show submission. It is for the Curiosities and Oddities Expo. It's not going in as a competition piece, and I can't show it until such stage as it's actually been out there. So it will go online on the 31st of March in the online collaboration magazine, as well as it'll be in person up in Brisbane at the International Cake Show. So the next piece gives you a little bit of an idea of I'm carving a skull in chocolate. So we'll see how that looks in the long run. As I always do my walking group, it was some pretty hot days that were actually out and about. So this is my walking buddy. My grandson came and spent Valentine's Day with me. It's International Know Your Singles Day. So my favourite little man came and spent some time. I was making some cookies. So these are for St. Patrick's Day and of course Father's Day with my dad. He's in an elderly home. So we had a bit of fun. So that's what I have been up to. On top of that, I have done my 44th update to the wheel. It has been 9 years of iterations. And I've actually brought in the Copilot chat, Copilot pages up the very top. So you'll see that in there as well now. So, of course, lots of shifting and moving pieces. So I've made a few adjustments and the wording as well. I am printing some stickers that I will be taking with me because I'm going to be off to New Zealand soon for the Digital Workplace Conference and over to MVP Summit. So hopefully I'll have some of those in future. If you come along to the user group, I can give you a sticker if you want a sticker. They can fit on the back of your phone. I've made them a 6.5 millimetre. So we'll see how we go. So what's new in the adoption space? I know, a lot of you have always sort of loved the whole what's new to Microsoft 365, but it's now 2 hours worth of content. So I've changed the nature of what I'm doing. It was getting beyond 2 hours compared to when I first started these user group 9 years ago, I had 10 minutes of content. So, and that 2 hours, we all know I go particularly fast when I'm doing that 2 hours of content. So I've had a bit of a shift. And being an adoption user group, I'm very much focused on what's new across the adoption space. What are the things that are actually going to be able to help you from a change and a comms perspective and support you in your journey? Now, the Microsoft adoption site, it has all of its kind of what's new content. And a lot of that what's new, there's things that I will just leave off because sometimes it goes into even the technical. The adoption space is becoming a lot bigger, and it's not even just for anymore the change and comms manager, it's for the IT specialist and diving down into security and all sorts of things now. So I'm focused in very certain spaces across adoption. There's a couple of things that have actually gone out there now. In the Microsoft Teams premium space, there's now a 9-page deployment guide on end user inside that guide, which is quite technical in some of it in terms of working with Teams Premium, but in that particular pack is 9 pages of end user education. So if you want to get some information and you're trying to do some training, you can look sometimes in the technical packs and find what you need. It's not always just there as a end user guide. Sometimes you have to do a bit of a search to find it. There is a new deployment, a premium, this premium deployment guide. Frankly, it's pretty much the technical guide that's actually there. So when you have a look, and it does say down the bottom here, it's got a new guide. Coming back up. Pen, work. Why don't you want to work today? Okay, let me just get my pen. It's moving me forward instead of, there we go, pen. Let's try again. Pen, thank you. This new guide that's actually there, but it's not so new ultimately. So it just hasn't had some of its updates, by the way, but there is some other information that's actually in there. There's a new SharePoint agent demo. I particularly like this demo. It's the demo that's actually around for the end user to really be able to understand, it's that whole just a basic, ready-made SharePoint agents. And there's plenty of ready-made ones that they can just do a bit of a click through and it tells them how to just kick it off and do it in SharePoint. Quite a simple one. You don't have to build your own e-learning. It's built in here for you and a click, click, click. And tell what to do. Now, there's another one that's actually in there, which is doing the custom and creating those a little bit more custom. And that custom side of things, you kind of go, well, great, but the average user often gets confused pretty fast and it can go technical really fast on the custom. But if you want just how do you plug in the agent to SharePoint, there's a good one in there. There is a SharePoint hackathon that's actually kicking off right now. The first of the piece of information started going out yesterday in the email. If you would like to join in on the SharePoint hackathon, it's about going out. It's got a bit of that whole, AI. They've got prizes and all sorts of winning there. So if you are building some cool SharePoint sites, then you might want to actually get involved, and maybe you want to put forward a site and get in as part of the competition. So there are prizes, and it's all going to be done as part of that community. If you go in and have a look, what I particularly liked was if you go and register, or you go and have a look, even if you don't want to be part of the hackathon, it's actually got a great broadcast schedule around how you can do things, what you could do, some really, really cool stuff that's actually coming down the line to support you on your SharePoint journey if you wish to. So there's plenty to get out of it, even if you're not doing the competition. There is the 3 SharePoint customers bolster their internet with AI design. It's a news piece that's come out, and it's actually talking about how 3 companies use it to actually boost their employee engagement. So there's 3 videos that have actually gone live. I would actually recommend going and having a bit of a watch of those. I do like how they've done it with, if you're not sure how, Copilot would come into play, if you've got a license and you're purchasing it and it's sitting in your SharePoint site, how can you use it to do the design work and what's actually being done? So some good stories there. There's a getting started guide that's actually gone out and gone live now. This getting started in the agent side of things, because there's the simple going right through to the more complex. But I do particularly like it. This is just one of the pages. It walks through how to deal with those out of the box SharePoint agents, and it's got a bit of a step-by-step, and it's in the presentation. One that I would have a look at. Rishi, gotta love Rishi Hind. I didn't see Rishi online. Rishi, you should have been here with us. But Rishi's actually put out there. Now, if you were at the AI tour, it was at the beginning of the year, he talked about his Copilot scenario framework. And in that particular framework, what he's done is it's now gone live up on the Mocha site, which is all under adoption. So the modern collaboration architecture. Okay, so if you're not sure, it's like what to use when. It's got all the technology that's there. It's about how you can use it as an individual, how you can use it as a team, how you can use it as an organization, and lays it all out. Quite a large, complex kind of looking presentation, but well structured. So he's actually now got this whole framework around how you can actually push it out. So in the framework, there's a video on how to actually use it. Now, his pages, and I'm going to get through all of the, animation in his framework. It's like, how do we actually build out scenarios? What does that look like when it comes to Copilot? So he talks about, and we've been potentially doing the, who are the personas, who are the scenarios. So he's got his core piece. You can go and download this from the Mocha site, by the way. So you can go in and grab it. So we've got the framework. It then goes into filling in the scenario card. So it's got how do you actually build out your own scenarios yourself with all of it layout. So if you're wanting to run workshops inside your business, for example, and bring together certain people and kind of group them together on their personas, you can then start to build out your scenarios. So there are the 3 pages that are actually there in terms of that scenario. What does it look like? How do you build out your own prompts? And it's that whole building your own promptathon as well to be able to support you. Thank you, Rishi, for taking that live. There's been a couple of changes from, if you're using the scenario framework from the AI tool, there has been some changes to the deck. If you had previously downloaded, I'd recommend going in and having a look and pulling it down now, because there has been a few updates there. And a couple of updates where I went, you got some spelling mistakes, so you might need to change. And so that's also had an update. You'll see in the release. I'm always trawling and going, you got a mistake in doing it. He's also, if you were at where was this? Actually, this was at the Digital Workplace Conference last year. He did his white paper around attention management, if you were actually there. Now, the presentation was kind of available for those that were actually at the conference. He's now put that presentation, it's up online on the Mocha site. So if you want to go and have a look at around attention management and what that looks like, it's got all the information there. Okay. In terms of the team space and some of the stuff that's actually new, there was recently a Meet the Makers around the chat and channel experience. So if you're trying to kind of understand why they did what they did, then there's that. It's now gone live if you couldn't actually get to the session online. There is also the Ask Me Anything session that then came afterwards. So we've got Mark Cashman and the team there. And this is then, people asking all of their questions and them answering it. What I actually did, this is where I take a bit of fun. I always think of it AI first, was I took the transcript from the Ask Me Anything, put it into Word and said, can you give me the Q&A and the answers? So I wanted to create an FAQ off the back of their question and answer. A lot of these AMAs and things like that out there, guys, take it into consideration. You can just use them and put them into your own businesses and on your SharePoint site. And you don't have to build it yourself. They're answering it for you already. The whole community is already out there asking. Just take a transcript, download it, have some fun. The Amplify for Copilot pack has actually had, there's been a bit of an update. So the first half of the pack is still the same, but if you are using Viva Amplify to roll out Copilot, so if you're not familiar with Viva Amplify, it actually gives you your whole comms plan package to be able to push it out across SharePoint and email and Viva Engage, wherever it is you want to go. It's got a whole campaign. Now, the campaign has actually had an update just recently. If you've already rolled it out, it's probably not going to be as much of an interest for you. But if you're on the journey and you're looking at rolling out the Copilot and you're paying for the solution, you've just taken up the license and you're pushing it out, then this has been then a bit of an update. So it's had the update to the deployment kit. When it comes to objectives, the goals, some of the key messages they're doing, and then what's included in that pack now has had some cool updates in terms of the right from week 1 to week 8 as the email sort of comms piece, the email, the SharePoint site, all of those components and pushing it out. The other piece is then give you a bit of an idea of what actually goes out. So there's it's quite a decent and comprehensive, and you can edit them, by the way. It's not like you're forced to use exactly that template. You can go and edit those templates to do a customized rollout. Now, of course, the Viva Amplify sits actually underneath the employee experience license, so you will need that license to be able to push that out within the business. So Viva Amplify only comes with the license. So some of that content example, I'll just move all this. There's plenty there. There's a whole huge, piece on it. Viva Glint have a regular session that they actually push out. Now, you don't need to have Viva Glint or a paid version of Viva Glint to feel like you're going to get value out of these sessions, because they're about behavior. Viva Glint is all about organizational kind of behaviors. So there's plenty in here for you to be able to go in. So even if it is talking about Viva Glint, there's some of the rules around behaviors, and they've got some really good sessions in there that you can actually apply in so many different ways. Okay. The adoption page has had a bit of an update. So down the bottom of the adoption page, when it comes to chat and agents, so the chat and agents, I talked about the new page last month. So on the bottom of the new page, what they've done is they've brought in a ton of resources that were kind of scattered. We talked about these different resources in the different places, but they've brought them all together now under the one page to be able to support you. So it just makes it a little bit easier to find it. Okay. Okay, so the Accelerate Value with this Copilot series that actually went out there. So a great series, a really good piece to actually watch when it comes to the series. Now, there are multiple parts that are being pushed out as part of this series. This one in particular is accelerating the value. So is that an analytics side of things, the impact? Now, I went to download the pack that came in it in terms of the PowerPoint. It's not the first time I've had this just recently. I have reported it to the team. It's got information rights management over it, so you cannot open it. So I have passed on that feedback and said, can we fix? So they fixed the last one. There was another one, I think last month I talked about it, had IRM against it as well. So they fixed that one, by the way. There is a whole event readiness series, tons of really great content when it comes to Microsoft Teams and town halls, for example, if you are running town halls. you might want to go and have a look at the event readiness series. You can actually register for them or come back in and watch them on demand afterwards. In the customer success kit, the training map, last month I reported to them that it had the old training map in the new kit that they pushed out. So they have actually updated that. And the PowerPoint guide that I said that there was problems and IRM around it, that's actually been updated so you can pull down those zip files now. So I'm all over this site all of the time and constantly harassing Jessie and the team going, can we fix, can we fix? We still don't have, though, the change management presentation that sits in the scenarios to be able to download. We still don't have that. I have been told by the team, and it has been since August last year, they are working on a whole new presentation to drop in. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'll harass them when I'm over in Seattle in about 2 weeks and see what's going on. Okay. There is, in terms of the deployment hub, there is some updates that are actually coming in here. Now, the deployment hub, so you can see here, it's a new site that's rolled out. Now, the deployment hub is very much focused more on the technical side of deployment when it comes to setting up. Just so that you're aware, even though it's not something we would necessarily always go into, when we're looking at setup, and if it was pushing you into your own tenant, it then gives you this walkthrough, and the walkthrough shows the IT person that's rolling out. It gives them a step-by-step guide on how they do the setup, by the way. Now, as part of that, they do get information around training and end user and content. So when you're talking to them as a change professional, go, when you set this up, you're going to get all of this as well. Make sure they're reading it there, because often they just go skip over and they're not even going through their own user journey and what does it mean for the business. So it does talk through different resources and what's actually available. So this is that kind of working with chat. So it was a Copilot one. And there's and the other one. Okay, so Windows app. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's actually it's not new technology, but there is actually the Windows app. And in the Windows app, so this whole new app that's rolling out brings together tons of different technology. It brings together Azure and all sorts of things where you can just go to one desktop, and that desktop, effectively, the Windows app allows them to be able to get into all different sorts of things. Okay. If you are not familiar with it, and maybe it's technology that you haven't come across necessarily yet in a business, if you want to get yourself up to speed on what it is, because it might actually hit one of your clients. If you're in the consulting space, for example, I know I tend to have a lot of partners on the call. It might be one to have a look at because you might end up having to train on it, for example. Okay, so that's actually the somewhat new-ish Windows app, and I find things all over the place, also random stuff that gets plugged in here and there. But what I particularly like is you can actually compare what features are available, because it's a little bit like when you were doing remote desktop. You couldn't at one, trying to do Teams through the remote desktop was a real nightmare. You couldn't do this or this or this or this. You do have the same sort of thing happens with the app. What works in what platform, and it goes through mobile phones and all the different types of mobile, platforms, for example, and whether it's a tablet. Okay. The Champions call, we actually haven't had yet the new, the February call go live with the presentation yet. We're just waiting for that to go up. Hopefully, maybe by next month we'll have both. But the next session is, you can register and go along to those champ sessions. They do run every month. We'll have Heather and Caruana and Jessie and the team are often on there. Now, Heather and Caruana have their Microsoft Mondays. A lot of the times on the Microsoft Mondays, they can be a little bit on the technical, but what I particularly like is if you do go into one of the videos and you have a look at the explanation, in there is often, what have we talked about, and tons of links. And there's a lot of really good links in there that will actually help and support you in terms of learning or finding. It kind of collated all these links together. So something to go and dive into. So the next one, by the way, although it is not on the site to register for the session, like it gives you the calendar for the session, it has got it inside the presentation when you can go in. There's a presentation things that go with it. You can go in and it is telling you that it's at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is going to be all hours of the morning if you want to join at 2 a.m. or just watch the video recording when it actually goes live on YouTube. It's just what I do. Otherwise, I'll be literally up every night between MVP stuff and yeah, crazy. The Essential series, the Viva Engage, have had their masterclass that they've actually been running. Go in. There are the previous, so there's I think we've now got the 3 recordings have actually gone live now. So these first 3 have gone live. The remaining ones are still coming up. I think the next one is tomorrow morning. Actually, I think it's the training one is tomorrow morning. Yeah. In fact, yeah, you can see them here. So Vective trainings, here we go. 10th. Oh, no, that one's next week. So yeah. So we've got a couple. There is a session and it's actually in a good time zone for us. It runs at around about 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning. So the Viva team are really good because they've actually got an Australian-based, product manager. So they run sessions in the Australian time. And it's great for us MVPs because we have a session that actually runs in APAC time. So do like it. They always put on the 2 sessions to be able to engage people. So these are the recordings. So we've got the 1, 2, and 3 are now all live. So I would recommend on the back of Kimberly's session, go and have a look at the corporate communications piece. Have a bit of a watch of that one. There was a blog that's actually gone out in regards to getting the most out of the prompt gallery. The assumption often out there is, people know they've got the prompt gallery because they can go to all the prompts. The vast proportion of who I talk to, you say, oh, you've got a prompt gallery. They say, what's that? They don't know. Even they got Copilot. Half the time they don't even know that they've really got Copilot. They see the icon Copilot. They're not touching it because it's a button they don't have to click on. It's all about education, guys. It's all about education. So I do particularly like this. It is it's a good blog, one that you can actually put into maybe one of your news or what's new, how to, for example. It's just laying it all out quite nicely. Even if you're doing a copy and paste and put it into your own. Microsoft's got a ton of content. Stop reinventing the wheel, guys. We can be so much faster and push things out and stay up to date if we just use what we got. In the Customer Hub, there's all these sessions that are actually running. Some of them are scale value with Copilot Chat for all, for example, like what is it? How can you use it? And Copilot Chat, we did talk about it last month in terms of some of that, what is it and a little bit around the licensing. But Copilot Chat is the free version that everyone's got access to. It's grounded in the web. It's not actually grounded in any of your data. You can't look at your own documents or anything like that. But it has got all its security around it when it comes to the chat, that free kind of version. It's there. It's not even free because you're paying for a license the vast portion of the time anyway. So there's really nothing quite free about it. But it's now been embedded right across the suite and put quite a few organisations into absolute connections. Interesting. It's been interesting to see what's going on. Okay. Underneath the 365 blog, there are 2 blogs that have gone out there around Clipchamp, and now we've actually got the video component. So if you are using Copilot Chat, so if you're going into Copilot, you've got now under visual, so if you've got your visual designer, it is including creating a video now. The creating a video is just it's kind of a one-off thing. It's not like you're going to be able to iterate off the back of it. Okay, so it's just a create and leave. You can't get it to go back and just adjust whatever, icon they're using in it. It will recreate it all over again. You get something completely different. That's the way it works at this point. It's also got its branding kit. So when it actually builds video or anything that you're working in Clipchamp, it's got a whole brand kit that sits in the back end, and that branding kit will then make sure that your video goes in line with your branding. So this here, in terms of the video and the creation and the branding kit, I don't know if you ever remember the conversation I had that we had some absolutely stand up, clapping moments at the MVP Summit in March last year. This is what it was about. This was a year ago. This is the sort of thing when we go over to Summit, they put things in front of us and go, this is what we're thinking of doing. It was a standing ovation in the room. So very clever what it's actually doing, and I particularly love it. There is the Copilot Tech Community blog. If you go in there, there's a whole Working Smarter series. The Working Smarter series came about for the SMB space in terms of the small business space. But I particularly like it because even though it's talking and was focused on a little bit more on the SMB space, it applies to anyone. What I liked about this one here is in this particular one around the neurodivergent marketer, got some really good prompts in there around how struggling kind of every day and getting things done, and how do I use Copilot prompting as someone that's in the neurospicy range to actually help me untangle and focus. So yeah, I've got neurospicy. I've got a lot of neurospicy in my family, and they'll regularly come in and I go, how are we today? And they go, particularly spicy today. And I go, just how spicy? And go, you'll see. And then I'll turn around and go, my grandson or my daughter or her husband, partner, and I go, oh, particularly spicy today. So it's my neurospicy world. Okay. But another one is, you'll see here the new blog around Copilot in OneNote. It's now in OneNote the web and OneNote and Teams. So it's rolled into both. There's still a lot of limitations when it comes to Copilot in OneNote at this point, but you can use it. It will have it there as the icon to be able to work in OneNote. It has been around for the desktop version, but it's still only limiting down to the page. It's not looking at notebooks or the whole of everything. It's still only focused on a page at this point. We'll see what I can talk about after MVP Summit. What's new in Copilot is out, so plenty of sort of functionality in terms of the, pages are now on a mobile phone. So if you're looking at Copilot pages, we've got, and of course, I've put Copilot pages now into my wheel as well. So you'll see that's all in there if you are using it. In the Viva Insights blog, there's a few things that they've actually dropped in around metrics for retention and usage. So a little bit more. What I liked though, and I've put a screenshot in, is you can actually have this piece that you can request delegate access to be able to see those Viva Insights. Often we've got, and I will regularly talk with those that sit across the adoption space of going, do you have access as a reader, right, to be able to see the metrics of what you're doing? Are you successful? That measuring the before and the after as part of that journey. And there's so much more than, there's the tangible, intangible, quantified, is it qualitative or quantitative? But this one at least allows you to see some of that quantitative data of what's going on. Okay, so there's this whole, delegate for Viva Insights. In the Viva Learning blog, it has in there, so 2 core components in terms of the blog. The Academy has now got some other extensibility features in there in terms of the Copilot Academy. This is under the Viva Learning space if you're using Viva Learning. And there's also a like a customer story around how it's been used. So I think I talked about that one last month, the story. On the Viva blog, there's a few other stories that are in there. You'll see there's one around healthcare, for example. There are some different employee experience insights, some other research around behaviours. There's all the measuring side of things. I would recommend going in and having a look at it, because a lot of times what we're doing is we're measuring things along. We want to know how to, or how have others done it, to be able to support us in our journey, because it helps us around some of the behaviours. If we see a behaviour, we can start to then line up what we're seeing to what we've got in the metrics, or what they say might not be what they're doing. What they're doing might not be what they're saying. Okay, having it that way. The Insider blog. So the Viva, when it comes to the Insider blog is about kind of that beta testing channel and what's actually coming and what they're working on at the moment. A lot of the products only put out their blogs on the Insider channel. That's the only place you're often going to see them. Okay? PowerPoint is pretty much the only place you're going to see in terms of what's coming into PowerPoint is going to be in the Insider blog. I have spoken with the team extensively about, can we have in like tech community, where's the PowerPoint space? Where's this? But a lot of them you're going to find over in here. Some of them, and one is it here? This search and import data. Love it. This search and import data with Copilot Excel. The latest in there is you can go, go out to the web and get me the latest information in regards to, I did one, I'm going to New Zealand, give me columns in regards to, I'm going to be there for 8 days. What are the places I should visit? Give me 5 different locations that I can go in terms of attractions. Give me accommodation that's under $150. Give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. And how many kilometers is it from city to city if I hire a car, and in terms of from the place to place, and it just laid it all out in a nice table for me, searching the web in Excel. It's like, like it. I'm not doing any of that, but anyway, actually, I'm doing about half of it already. So I just wanted to see what it came up with. It's pretty good, actually, pretty accurate. In the OneDrive blog, they don't generally do a lot of what's new and lay it all out in a blog. They usually do their video talk through what's coming, and they'll show it through video. Okay, so if you want to know what's really going on across the OneDrive space, that's there. But in that particular video was a where have we been, what's coming up in the future. So if you really want to know what's actually happening, this is the roadmap for OneDrive to have a look at. You'll find it in the videos, by the way. Okay, so this is their latest in terms of the February office hours. The SharePoint, there's lots happening across SharePoint, of course, at the moment, especially with Copilot embedding into SharePoint. Recommend going in and having a read through, especially on the intro zone. So the intro zone is where they really talk about all of the what's new and what's happening. It's both a podcast as well as a video, as well as a blog. So it's all included in there. And there's your SharePoint hackathon. Okay. They have a whole SharePoint series that's going on at the moment. I did talk about it last month. There's 18 videos on their new site in regards to, there's lots of new content if you look at last month's presentation, by the way. There is so this was the, what's going on down the very bottom of each intra zone that they put out. Is lots of things, what's coming, what are the events, what's actually happening, and resources. And there's often some really good resources to click around. Okay, have a look. In the Teams blog, in terms of some of the stuff that's actually new, there was a few things actually that I quite enjoyed. I'm not going to dive into some of this, but the new calendar is available now in Teams. You're probably getting the pop-up messages saying, do you want to go to the new Teams experience? Are you doing some education for your end users around what that means? Because are they going to it or not, or declining? It's a bit like the new chat feature in terms of chat and channels, and they're going, do you want to go to the new experience? And they're declining all over the place because they don't know what it is, guys. So start putting some comms and information out there to try and help them on the journey of why they should do the new chat experience, and maybe send them to the video around, what's going on and why, and the AMA if you really need to. Okay. Planner has had a few changes that are actually happening. It's had a bit of a revamp of the UI, so there's you'll probably see that already flowing through. It will talk you through what they're doing and how they're actually doing in terms of some of those enhancements. There's a new board view. There's a couple of new views as well. The Excel blog. This was the one, getting started. They've got a whole getting started with Copilot. They did have a series that I've talked about last year, some really good series of productivity pieces. But in that, what's new was what I was talking about, go and get information. Now, in that go get information was also, apart from going to the web and being able to pull information from the web, it's going to also have very soon, it wasn't working yet for me just yet, but, get information from the PowerPoint, get information from the Word document, where in the past Excel wouldn't allow you to get information from anywhere. It was Excel or Excel, and that was it. Okay, but now it'll have the, draw in information from other sources. Don't forget, there's the great foundational training that's actually out there. You can watch them, or you can register for sessions, put this up, help your end users in their journey. It's all there with all of the links you can send them to. The community calls that are actually coming out, most of those at all hours of the morning. So feel free to keep an eye out, and it depends on if you're up late. Don't forget, you can go into the community and look at answers if you've got problems going on, help your end users to push information. They can register and get updates and feedback and all sorts of things in there. Conferences coming up. Microsoft have got their events calendar. there's always plenty that you can watch and keep up to speed with, guys. I'm watching gazillion videos all the time, let alone what I've got to do for the user group. It's kind of a blow your mind. Someone said to me, how many laptops have you got? Oh, one in every corner as I sit down in the morning in the couch with my cup of tea and I'm watching the latest. And then I've got, where's the other one? How many have you got? Probably every iteration, and let alone the client one. So stacks this high. But I'm always watching something that's coming up. There was last month, there was an adoption one last month that you can actually go and watch some of the information recording, but you can go register for these. These ones I've actually filtered to the Australian time zone. So you can go and register for some of those. A lot of them can be technical, like it's got Entra and it's got, you might not be interested in some of that, but there are others that are like Maximize IT, Virtual Training Day Fundamentals, M365, training kind of fundamentals, a few things in there that might actually help you. I particularly like the series. I've been watching the series. It's got these co-pilot training for operations, for HR, there's all these different, persona scenarios that you can actually watch in the series. So they're repeating them. What they're classed as a Simulive, by the way. So they're Simulive sessions. If you've not heard of a Simulive session, it's basically you come on, they've got moderators to answer questions, but they're playing a video. Called Simulive. That's the new, it's the new buzzword now. It's called Simulive. It's like kind of community days. There's so much that's going on. I am presenting I leave next Wednesday. I'm off to New Zealand. I'm actually presenting over the Digital Workplace Conference. I'll be doing that award-winning champs program that I executed. So I'll be presenting over there very soon, and we'll see what happens with the one in Australia this year when it moves over. But I will be over there. If you are in New Zealand and you want to join, or if you haven't actually registered, come along. It's on the 18th and the 19th. I get that right. So I'll be over there. Where do I find? Of course, the videos will go live online. Collab Talk, always answering questions. If you've ever got a question, I can actually put it out to the panel and we can answer questions for you. It'll go up on YouTube. So feel free to you can always just drop me, can you ask this of the panel? And I put it into our sheet and we start to answer questions. Plenty of resources, but I have been, as I said, I've been moving all of these, and I don't necessarily want to put them into the presentation anymore. I will be moving them all over into my new adoption site that I've actually built for you. At the moment, as I said, it's still just Copilot. I've got about 60 pages to go. As I release a page, I'll put it up there and I'll continue to educate you. But it's all things adoption, all collated onto one page from Microsoft's everywhere. And not only is there sprawl everywhere, but they don't talk about some of the really great third-party tools like Swoop's up there in terms of analytics. And so you'll find, what could you use? I've got a whole analytics session, and these are all the links and the blogs and the things you can go to learn about analytics or change champions. So it's got everything you would need collated in one spot for the Copilot space at the moment. So you can see here, I've got it all kind of grouped together in particular topics for you to help. There are lots of fabulous communities out there that you could actually join in. There's a multitude of places you can go to be able to learn on any topic, apart from the fact that I'm do change and adoption. I have divided out the videos on my YouTube channel, by the way. I'm no longer just putting up all, hour and a half or two. I'm actually breaking it down to, this is all the kind of the what's new information and my speaker. So there will now be 2 videos. So if you're looking for the speaker, it won't be in the what's new anymore. I've actually made them separate so you can just jump straight and watch your speaker, because a lot of people like to kind of skip through and don't necessarily, especially as time goes on, they're not as interested in the what's new because it's kind of not so new anymore. It's relevant for a bit, but that's how I've changed it. Now, on the 1st of April, we'll be running again. Now that, I know, not only April Fools, but I actually arrived back in Seattle at 7:30 a.m. on the 31st, on the day before. So I should be nice and jet lagged, and I've got to have the presentation ready for you the next day. So if I don't make sense at all, I'll apologize here and now, because I might just be, in and then I'm going to go, maybe I should move the user group. No, I won't. I'll still try. I always try and do it on the first Tuesday of the month so that you know when to come and join along. Don't forget the presentation is there for you to be able to download. And, you know, like all things, I try not to leave any user behind. Feel free to chat with me at any point, reach out. And these are all of my communication details and information for you. As I said, the presentation is fully available, as well as the recording I'll take up, you know, ASAP for you. I haven't seen any questions from anyone online. It's been very quiet today. Normally there's lots of chatter online racing. Yes, you have a question.
So this user group is more about the end user experience, not the technical back-end experience.
Okay, so the question for everyone online, this is more about the end user experience than the technical back end. That's correct. This is actually more about the business side of things. It's the, you know, it's the change, it's comms, it's training, it's analytics, it's that journey. Sometimes we have speakers that come in that slide, and it sort of sits in the middle between the, you know, understanding to the technical and untangling. We have such a variety of speakers that come in, but it doesn't live in the technical space in terms of M365 adoption. So if you're looking for that, no apologies, sorry. It's like on Meetup, explains what we're doing, and yeah, hey, come along anyway, because, you know, I see so many people that are IT professionals and they don't understand this journey, and they don't understand even the everyday stuff, and often they're not even looking at Message Center as to what's new or what's coming anyway. So there's certainly plenty of education out there. Any other questions before we wrap up? And I managed to get the user group back to an hour and a half. I'm really impressed, from 2 to 2.5 hours. Can you imagine if I was doing all of what's new to 365? Now, I've given you some of the what's new, but I'm not laying it out. It would take me 3 hardcore days straight from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night, putting together the content of what's new. And that wasn't even, you know, presenting and setting up the user group or anything. That was just on the what's new research and video. So I still read it and watch it, but I'm not putting it all into a presentation for you. Sorry. Yeah, no, it doesn't work. I tried. I would love it to. I'd love it to be able to do it, but no, not with what, because there's so many repositories. This information is across so many spaces between Message Center and the blogs and so many, and the roadmap, and the, you know, lots and lots of places that I go to do some of the news. Anyway, if there's no one online, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm going to close the meeting and turn off the recording now. And for those that are in the room, sorry, everyone online, you can have some virtual pizza. We have pizza here for you to actually have. And so thank you, everyone.